A very good day to Dr. Asong and whoever is watching. I hope you guys are staying safe and doing well. Now, before we get started, why not grab a snack and get comfy because we're going to be here for a while. Today, we'll be talking about the disorder that I chose, which is gender dysphoria. Now, who am I, you ask? Well, my name is Lakshna Krishnakumar and I am currently doing my Foundation in Arts Semester 1 and I'm 19 years old. And I guess that's all, like, enough of the introduction. So anyways, let's get back into the presentation. And before I get started, why not we watch a short video briefly explaining about the dysphoria.
Dysphoria, a term many don't know but may still feel. It's basically the disassociation or depression someone may feel towards parts of their body. This can apply anywhere from voice pitch or the chest region to feet size or height as a whole. And when someone is faced with a person misgendering or deadnaming them, it's just another reminder of their dysphoria. A lot of people don't understand what dysphoria feels like, and I understand that. Sometimes it's difficult to see a situation from another's perspective. In other words, dysphoria feels like wearing your right shoe on your left foot and your left shoe on your right foot, but never taking them off. So it's uncomfortable, and you can't be your true self. Like, how could you run or play a sport to your best ability when you have shoes on like that? And maybe you forget about it for a bit while sitting or getting distracted, but once you start walking, you'll notice it all over again. That being said, everyone feels dysphoria at different levels. While one might only bother you a bit, another might feel like being shot with an arrow. Besides the obvious, there are a few ways to help deal with dysphoria. Definitely find someone you can talk to, but also find time for yourself. Doing hobbies or sports that distract you. Heck, even drawing these animations help me. And just remember, you aren't alone when it comes to feeling dysphoria. Take a deep breath and know it'll be okay. It's difficult to handle sometimes, but it's not impossible to overcome. To fix your shoes and walk proud.
So hello again. Hope you guys roughly got an idea on what dysphoria is and enjoyed the video. Now let's officially and finally get into the presentation. So what exactly is gender dysphoria? Gender dysphoria is a term that describes the dissatisfaction that one feels towards their assigned gender. Now, this disorder can be broken down to different types. For example, we have nonconformity to gender roles, transvectic disorder, body dysphoria disorder. Now, I'm going to briefly just explain what each type means. And we'll start with nonconformity to gender roles. Simply means not conforming to the gender roles, which, for example, could mean as something as simple as a woman wearing a tie and a man wearing a dress, or something as complex and life-changing as adopting pronouns. Now, transvestic disorder is a disorder that happens when one is sexually aroused when cross-dressing. And the last one, we have body dysphoria disorder, where one feels uncomfortable with their body parts, more specifically with their sexual organs that they were born with. So there are few general symptoms for this overall disorder, and they are strong preference for cross-dressing, strong desire to be the other gender, strong desire to be treated as the other gender, and strong dislike to be treated as the assigned gender. So, for example, a guy could be into makeup, and when he admits it to his friends and family, they may confront him and say that, oh, this isn't a guy's thing. You know, you should be more into sports or weightlifting and stuff like that. So this is when they'll feel like, oh, I want to be treated as the other gender. I want to be freely, you know, to say that I'm into makeup and everything. So that's an example. So there are ways to actually help someone with this disorder and might actually help them get over this dysphoria. So it actually starts with you going to a therapy and meeting up with a therapist and talking things through. And once you've been officially diagnosed with gender dysphoria, you'll be given an option to either go through gender identity conversion therapy, or on the other hand, you have gender affirming hormone therapy that usually comes after surgical affirmations. So what is gender identity conversion therapy? So it is a therapy where you are kind of guided back to being comfortable in your own skin, and being comfortable with the gender you're assigned with. And this sometimes helps you get over the dysphoria and being like, oh, okay, I want to be myself. However, on the other hand, for people who have really severe dysphoria of gender dysphoria, they may pick gender affirming hormone therapy that usually comes with surgical affirmations. So, for example, someone may undergo through sexual reproduction surgery, and they might change their sexual organs, and after that they'll be giving, like, going through gender affirming hormone therapy, where, for example, if you're a girl and you had a um and you'll be given testosterone so that you get more physical characteristics of a male. So most people know this as transitioning, and normally this transition does not happen overnight. It takes a matter of years, and it's a really difficult and permanent decision. So yeah. So I actually have a video of someone's personal experience through this transition. So let's get into that.
When I first started my transition process, I immediately got a therapist to help talk to both my parents and I. My first therapist was a professional who was pretty well known in the area. However, I only saw her for one session. That's because she told me the reality of my transition, and that wasn't an easy pill to swallow. Being hit in the face with reality at such an early stage was not easy, but I wouldn't change what happened. My therapist had made me cry my eyes out, and it took a long time for me to realize how important this talk was. I walked into her office and mustered up answers to questions I wasn't fully prepared for. And eventually, I blurted out that I just wanted to be a boy, that I was never comfortable living my life as female. At this point, the therapist took a deep breath and held out both of her hands. John, this isn't an easy process. As much as I wish I could, I can't pull out a pink pill and a blue pill, and you take one and magically wake up tomorrow in the body that matches your mind. It just doesn't happen overnight. The reality is, you're never going to be cisgender. You can't change that. Even after you get every surgery in the book, it's still going to be hard. Sometimes surgeries don't come out right, and sometimes life puts you in rough spots. No matter what stage of your life, you will still have to face situations day to day that cisgender people don't ever have to consider their whole life. Now, of course, I knew all this wasn't going to happen overnight. I knew I wasn't going to look the way I wanted to, or that getting surgery wouldn't change my whole genetic makeup. But sometimes it's just something you have to hear from someone else. It's like I was avoiding it, and didn't want to think that getting from point A to B was actually a really long and really difficult process. That therapy appointment was 8 years ago, and I can now say that I'm proud to be who I am. Even to the extent that I wake up most days and am happy to know that I'm trans rather than cisgender. However, some days it still hurts to think that I'm never going to be cis. I wake up in dread and feel cursed to be born in the wrong body. Similar to how I used to get caught up in these details like never being tall enough or never being able to experience only things cis guys go through. It's similar to how some trans women mourn that they can't carry a child in their womb, like most cis women can. It's things that seem silly to others, these small details, but they can have a significant impact. It was important for me to hear this though, and I hope you all find something in it too. My expectations of surgery outcomes can't be perfect, and I needed to keep in mind that I was always going to run into situations cis people wouldn't ever think twice about. I needed to keep in mind that this, being transgender, is a lifelong battle. And this took a long time to realize. It also took a long time to learn that patience was key. To all my brothers, sisters, and siblings going through this, whether it's about waiting until you're 18 or raising enough funds to pay off surgery, things are going to take time. However, that doesn't mean it's not worth it. You know yourself best. If transitioning is something you put a lot of thought into, and know that this is what's best for you, a few hiccups shouldn't stop you. No matter what, always keep in mind that it will be okay. Life looks like the most complex math problem in the book, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. Just approach it differently, don't give up, and stay you.
Now that was a very emotional video. Okay. Anyways, with that we'll get into the statistics for this whole disorder. So based on the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, which is also known as the DSM, the statistics shown relating to the gender dysphoria, or more specifically known as the sex ratios, differs according to the age group that can be broken down into three. So up first we have the children sex ratios in children, where the statistics is leaning towards more of a female of a 50%, and then we have the male of a 40%, and we have the undecided of 10%. So the undecided group is actually a group that can't pick their gender. They can't tell whether they feel like a female or they feel like a male. So yeah. Next up, we have sex ratios in adolescents, and this one is definitely leaning towards more of the male, and then we of a 74%, and then we have a 13% of female and a 13% of an undecided. And lastly, we have the sex ratios in adult, where this is definitely leaning towards the undecided group with a 52%, which is more than half. And then we have a 47% of males and a 1% of females. So with the statistics that I showed you and the sex ratios in each different age group, we can see that the undecided group tends to increase over age. Like for example, it um, a 10% in the children, and then a 13% in adolescents, and finally a 52% in adults. So from this, I can conclude that as we grow up, we tend to have we become more curious and we start asking more questions. Hence, we become really unconfident with our sexuality, our gender, and that's perfectly normal. So, moving on. These are my references for my whole research and poster. So yeah, but we're not done yet. We have a few more to go. So I'll be talking about my infographic poster, of my concepts on infographic poster, and here's why I think my infographic poster can help spread mental awareness to public, or more specifically gender dysphoria disorder to the public. So this is my poster, and as you guys can see, I have my content of the poster is actually short and really straight to the point, and it's like nothing unnecessary. And I even placed some statistics down there so that people know that it's not just them who go through it, and there's actually a lot of human beings and it's very common out there. So yeah, and then we can say that images. My poster, in my opinion, has the right amount of images, because too much picture can be a problem. At the same time, too less picture can make it a problem also. So if you have too less pictures in your poster, the poster might seem boring and too wordy. However, if you put too much images, you might not get to compress all the relevant information into the poster. So yeah, my third point is the color schemes that just make sense. So I chose a really bright colored theme because if you do walk past this poster, I can bet that this would catch your eye and you would want to read. Hence, this increases the curiosity. So you go over and read the symptoms and the relating content, and you might be like, oh, okay, this is really interesting. You might gain knowledge about this, or you might relate some of the symptoms. And if you do relate to some of the symptoms, the information on my poster are very from reliable sources. You may click on the reference and it'll bring you, and you may dig deeper about your condition if you do relate to this, and you may set an appointment with your therapist, and from there go things through, and you might or might not have this dysphoria. So yeah, with that, I think that's all from me. With that, I can say thank you so much for your time. If you have any question, please do ask, and I hope you understand what the whole dysphoria is about. And yeah, thank you and good night.